Good evening, everybody. We're the Muchies, and welcome to the Matrix News Network. Tonight, our guest will be joining us for the entire 1 hour program because of the magnitude of the information we're going to reveal tonight.
You know that on just one day in January, more than 90,000 jobs were lost in the U.S. Worldwide, the figures are even worse. It has led to rioting in many countries and the demise of at least one government so far. That is the government of Iceland.
President Obama is pushing for more bailout funds for big banks and an economic stimulus package that will likely only further the debt of American citizens.
In light of all this, we felt that we should look behind the headlines and find out what's really going on. And if one man could help us with that, it is Lindsey Williams.
Pastor Williams joined the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline as a chaplain back in 1974, which gave him a real insider's view of corporate and government manipulation of the oil industry and the economy.
Lindsey has continually expanded his research and joins us tonight to tell us what we can expect in the next 12 months. Welcome, Lindsey.
Thank you so very much for allowing me the privilege of being with you tonight. For 3 years, I lived with the elite of the world during the construction of the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. This is America's big oil field in northern Alaska. Let me say emphatically, from the onset of the program, there positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. I wrote about them in my book, The Energy Non-Crisis, and recently I had a phone call from one of these people, one who knows everything that goes on behind closed doors, and he said, "Chaplain, you have said too much. You've gone too far. You can't say this and this and this anymore, and if you do, we're going to do this and this." And it wasn't very pleasant. President John F. Kennedy couldn't argue with them, and surely I was not going to either. I gave in to what they had to say, and just a matter of minutes closed down my website.
I noticed.
My Energy Non-Crisis DVD was pulled from the market until I could completely redo it. And within a 45-minute period, this man told me everything that the elite have planned for the world in the next 12 months. I was literally amazed, and that's what I'd like to relate to you tonight.
Lindsey, were you actually threatened to remove your DVDs and books from your website for sale?
Oh, positively. In fact, he said, "You can't do this and this anymore." He said, "We've been monitoring your actions," and he said, "You've said too much." Now, you know, I have known for 35 years, since I wrote my book, The Energy Non-Crisis, that there was a line out there, and I knew if I crossed it, that I would be called on the carpet, and I was. But the beautiful part of this is, after our conversation, I became friendly with this man. I have not seen him for 25 years. He's 80-something years of age, but once you become a part of the elite, you never get away from them. And I asked him, I said, "How's your family? Where have you been living?" He became friendly, and that is when he opened up and told me everything that the elite have planned. It has been such a blessing to be able to tell this to the American people in advance, because it has happened exactly like you said it.
But Lindsey, we're not living in China. I mean, we're living in the United States, and even though Kate and I have talked about our losses of freedom of speech here, I mean, we still do have it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on the air. So I'm really surprised that they came down so heavy on you.
Well, not really, because I was saying things they didn't want said. They have no intentions in opening up any oil fields in America.
Yeah.
They definitely, what this gentleman told me, now, at the time he called me, crude oil prices were $147 a barrel. The first thing he said was, when I said, "What is going to happen?" He said, "Chaplain, the price of crude oil is going to $50 a barrel." I went on a number of radio shows the following week and said that, and my talk show host laughed at me. He said, "It can't happen. It'll devastate the world." Well, it has happened. In fact, it's gone to $136 a barrel. I'm sorry,
Down
it's gone
to
to $36 a barrel.
Yep. And you know, they use oil and so many other things as a method of control. Yeah. And we have a clip here that we wanted to share with our viewers to demonstrate how insidious this control really is.
The fractional reserve policy perpetrated by the Federal Reserve, which has spread in practice to the great majority of banks in the world, is, in fact, a system of modern slavery. Think about it. Money is created out of debt. And what do people do when they are in debt? They submit to employment to pay it off. But if money can only be created out of loans, how can society ever be debt-free? It can't. And it is the fear of losing assets coupled with the struggle to keep up with the perpetual debt and inflation inherent in the system, compounded by the inescapable scarcity within the money supply itself, created by the interest that can never be repaid, that keeps the wage slave in line, running on the hamster wheel with millions of others, in effect powering an empire that truly benefits only the elite at the top of the pyramid. For, at the end of the day, who are you really working for? The banks. Money is created in a bank and invariably ends up in a bank. They are the true masters, along with the corporations and governments they support. Physical slavery requires people to be housed and fed. Economic slavery requires people to feed and house themselves. It is one of the most ingenious scams for social manipulation ever created, and at its core, it is an invisible war against the population. Debt is the weapon used to conquer and enslave societies, and interest is its prime ammunition.
Lindsey, we understand that debt is used as a way of controlling the population, and certainly within this country. But how is it used on a broader scale vis-a-vis other countries and our dollar?
The Federal Reserve is not an agency of the United States government any more than Federal Express is. Their monetary policy positively is not working. Now, when the oil-producing countries of the world, OPEC, have lost 3/4 of their income in a matter of 4 months, that means from $147 a barrel to $40 a barrel approximately, that means that these people no longer can purchase the interest on our national debt. Now, the United States of America has a $12 trillion national debt. The interest on that debt must be paid. Now, the principal can go by not paid, but the interest must be paid. Now, the oil-producing countries of the world, and in particular Russia, China, of course China doesn't produce oil necessarily, but then all of the OPEC countries producing oil, now that their income has been slashed by 3/4 in 4 months. Listen to the statement, if you will. Last week, the OPEC financial oil ministers met, and after their meeting, they stated that OPEC oil production countries have lost $2.5 trillion in 4 months. Now, did you catch that? I didn't say billion. $2.5 trillion in 4 months because of this crude oil prices dropping from $147 to $40. This is devastating. They've lost 3/4 of their income in 4 months. America has this $12 trillion national debt. The Treasury of the United States of America issues T-bills. Now, T-bills are issued for the purpose of paying the interest on the national debt is better known as a reserve currency or rainy day currency, which the nations of the world hold because historically it has always been trusted when nothing else stood stable. The American dollar and the T-bills in particular stood stable enough they could hold them.
Lindsey, we're going to have to take a little break here and go to a commercial, but that's a perfect way to stop because we want to talk when we come back how the American empire has been built using that dollar and so many more strong-arm tactics. We'll be back with Lindsey Williams.